Hello, and welcome to the Divine Feminine Revolution. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Monday, and I'm so excited to have my friend Eia Buenconsejo, and we are going to have a really amazing conversation about multidimensional healing. So if you're a healer expert all the way to, don't even know if healing is real, like this is the conversation for you. And I know this is personally super important to me because y'all know my background is in psychology, but the most transformational, rich, amazing experiences of my life have all had to do with multidimensional healing. And I always recommend for my therapy clients just to, especially if you're trying to heal trauma, I feel like, you know, energy healing and all the different varieties of that and indigenous healing, it's just so incredibly powerful. And I just really want to make it partly my mission, along with other people, to really legitimize that because it's ancient wisdom that has been around
Mhm. Yeah.
forever, and we shouldn't even have to validate that, right? Like that should be its own validation in my mind. But yeah, I'd love to
Yes.
like bring this to the people because I found that it has just created like such incredible transformations for me and for the people that I work with and my family. And I know it takes a whole team of healers to keep me going.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm
Yes.
gonna just pass it over to you. You know the drill. We've done an episode before, which was amazing. Go check that one out. But yeah, do the little brag intro deal. What do you want to share with us today?
Yes. Well, first of all, Megan, thank you so much for having me back. It's been so fun to do this again. Yeah. So I just want to share to all of you guys. My name is Ia, of course. I am a multidimensional medicine woman.
Mhm.
I also have been a physical therapist for 22 years, and I've had a private practice in New York City, Manhattan. And I have left kind of like the whole
Medical.
Western medicine way of healing and working in the body as a physical therapist or healthcare professional to really opening my mystery school and
Mhm.
diving deep into working with the body in a very multidimensional whole approach. And just a little bit about my background. I was born in the Philippines, and a lot of my lineage has been really medicine people, and
Mhm.
we've had kind of that in my family, but it's been very hushed and quieted down as part of the fear of you know medicine people and their ways of really healing the body in a very non-traditional way.
Mhm.
But there has been this very deep calling of me wanting to get deep in my roots and honor my ancestors and honor my heritage as a Filipino. So part of the reclamation of my work and my own I guess divine feminine revolution is owning this piece of me
Mhm.
and bring this forth in the modern days to be able to connect the spirit and matter, the body and the spirit and the soul, and weaving all connections and us being part of this whole like universal space in our body because we are all connected to life force and to the earth and also the wisdom of spirit and the wisdom of ancient tradition that lives in our body, whatever heritage we have. And as a physical therapist, I was able to bring forth my wisdom and my knowledge with anatomy and working with the body very intimately, as I taught this also before with to a lot of different schools. And what I've gathered in my own tradition and in my own lineage is to be able to like work with the different realms of spirit and to be able to work with just the intuitive medicine of the body to the healing. And it becomes such a very wider expansive way of getting deep to the root cause and the meat of why we have pain, or why there is disease in the body, or why we have chronic conditions that are happening in the body, because it's not just a very linear, it's not a linear way of looking at the body. Now there is a whole layer and layer of diverse multidimensional approach of being able to find the root cause of the disease, to find more freedom in the body, more joy, more just it's just the wider way I feel of working with the body. And I have been able to support thousands of people this way. And it's just my my path to be able to share this more to the world, and to really not just look at the body as separate from our soul and our spirit, that there is, it's a living, breathing vessel that is alive and then connected to all, and that we can heal it in a very profound way by just with all the pieces. Yeah.
I love that so much, and I think it's so impressive, like, how many people you've worked with. I mean, just in your, physical therapy private practice and, I
Mhm.
think sometimes in the coaching industry, like, you don't necessarily have the years of experience working with people in that way unless you have, some other job experience with that, and so I think there's just so much when you see that many clients across so many years, and then
Yeah,
finding
yeah.
that any wisdom and healing is so powerful. And I feel so drawn to the Philippines. Andrea, who is on here just helping us, is a Filipino, and God, it's just such a beautiful land. Like, I can imagine there's so much beautiful healing that comes from there.
Yeah, yeah. It is incredibly widely undiscovered, but also not talked about. And I feel like just part of my work is to share the wisdom of just this hidden realm of hidden treasure of existence that lived in our country, that I have been a part of, that I've seen as a child. Like, I've seen this, I've been a part of that, I've been working with spirit and all this, all different realms of existence as a child, and I have shut it down growing up because it was so taboo. Nobody, even as a Filipino, my family was kind of wanting this kind of service, or wanting to be able to be a part of it, but there's just, the unknown is so scary, and
Mm-hmm.
what people can't see is so scary. But I have, because of my psychic abilities, I've been able to tap into these riches
Mm-hmm.
in a very profound way. And my piece of the journey is I had to shut it down because it was just so unaccepted. I was shamed so much and rejected because it was very, even if I was gifted that way,
Mm-hmm.
it was, it culturally, it was so we've been so colonized that it's been shut down so
Mm-hmm.
much, that it was so repressed, in my country, and I was accepted that way. So I had this whole journey of really being able to say yes to me and abandon this piece of it. It took me about 20 years before, when I moved here to the US, that I've started like kind of allowing the nature of who I am to be met by my heart, and not to just shame it, not to reject it, but to really accept this as part of my whole being,
Mm-hmm.
not a curse, but a part of a gift that I could bring to others. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that this was part of
Mm-hmm.
my gift. It was so I was so scared of it. I didn't want to share it. And as I became a physical therapist, and things came through again, and I started like owning it, it just started coming naturally. It started becoming a big part of my work, and that's how I was able to support thousands and thousands of people for the last 20 years, and get deep in the gunk of it all, and see where things are held, and support them in ways that could bring them more back to life, back whole. Yeah, so it's been profound. I've been journeying I've been journeying through this, and I've been accepting more of me as I see the healing and the transformation that happens. So it transforms me as well as I support them. So it's been such a beautiful journey of owning and
Mm-hmm.
reclaiming. Yeah.
And I've had that same experience kind of working more in mainstream, I guess, I don't know if you call it psychology medicine, but like, my people would heal and they'd be like, gosh, I've been to like 4 or 5 therapists and nothing's worked. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
part of why you're getting better is I'm like therapist plus healer, and so
Right. Right. Yes.
it's interesting to have like sort of the left brain, right brain experience of it. You have your like medical training and then you have like,
Yes.
the intuition. And I think it's cool when you can work both together. Why
Absolutely.
why do you think the taboo is so strong still? Like, I was just getting ready to my building has an event space at the top, and I was getting ready to run a retreat, and they were like, "Just want to make sure it's a good fit. Are you gonna be doing, like, chakra stuff?" And I was like, "Uh"
Yeah.
like, women." self-care. So,
True.
what do you think that is? Either like, from your culture or like just in general? Like,
Yeah,
why is
yeah,
there so much
yeah. I
resistance
think
to
we are.
colonization?
Yeah, I think we're slowly unpacking. I know that it's just a very. We're unpacking this controlled mindset. It's
Mm,
such a deep patriarchal pattern
mhm,
of wanting to control the wildness that lives the feminine current that
mm,
is inside of us is
mhm,
something that we can't control. It's the unknown force of creation that also is an intuitive process of the female being, right? And also of the female spirit,
mhm,
whether it's there is in a male or female body. The feminine is such a very unknown, vast, wildly uninhibited form of creation that lives in us. And it's hard to be controlled, it's hard to be put in a box. And what's so hard to be controlled, or what's out there and that we can't really tangibly sometimes see,
mhm,
scares everybody. Scare
mhm,
It's just chakras or energy or anything like that, and it's just, what do you mean, how can it happen, how can it even heal, how it's just it's such a out of body experience sometimes for some people, or out of context from mainstream, because we need to quantify or we need to qualify things in a certain way. We're so results driven.
yeah,
And I also think we're missing the magic and the beauty of this piece that has been a part of us for eons, that
for
it's
the
been just, we're so scared of it because, oh my
like
God,
years,
is that
probably in my mind at least.
right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's part of the nature of spirit. It's part
Mhm,
of the nature of the female intuitive aspect of it. So I think it's just, we're learning to tap into this ancient wisdom that is actually living inside of our bodies, but we just don't know how to tap into, because we're just monotonized
mhm,
ways of doing medicine and healthcare, in a certain boxed linear way.
mhm,
This is equals that. And
mhm.
so we're limiting our way of really, I think, healing, and not be open to what else is out there. That's, I feel like we're slowly unpacking this. And
Mhm.
it's so beautiful that you're actually doing a retreat that involves chakra. Well, now it's out there now.
I know. I have a little bit of a double life in between. I in therapy land I go by my maiden name, and then my alter ego is Dr. Megan Monday, which is my married
I,
name.
I, I, I love it.
So, but yeah, I definitely like I saw this in psychology. It's like they had an inferiority complex and they wanted to be like a hard science, like physics or something like that. And then I think it's that we
Mhm.
got so like research driven and like let's prove ourselves,
Yes,
and it's such a we're so skeptical of the unseen, and yet like some of the most
exactly.
powerful forces like gravity is unseen, but it's clearly like a force that affects us all. And so I feel like that's kind of exciting as like tech is getting bigger, that maybe we will be able to see some of these things that are unseen. Like we can get, I had one of my fearless feminine ladies on here, and she's an aura photographer. And she actually took like a before and after picture of her she went through a big life transformation as well, but like before and after the program, and her colors and her energy completely changed. And so, like, we
Yeah.
do have evidence, but I think it's
It
just,
is real. It is real. It's just
yeah.
hard to grasp because we've not been taught to open up to that at all.
Hmm.
Because it's been so feared upon, but it has been available.
Hmm.
We're now accessing it a bit more, and we're now seeing it, and we're realizing the importance of it, and that it actually is really available to all of us if we're open.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of excited for that, like Age of Aquarius is coming in. Kind of, it's we got a little glimpse of it the past couple months, but officially next year, because I feel like the Capricorn has been such a sort of masculine emphasis for the past 15 years that I'm really
Mhm.
curious to see what this new age looks like. And I mean, the world's obviously going through some growing pains changes, things,
Yeah.
interesting to see kind of how all of that settles. So you were talking about doing some multidimensional one-on-one. You've kind of shared on the first episode a bit about how like you got the intuition pre-COVID to move out to the country and to this beautiful
Mhm.
retreat space you have that every time you post a picture, I just love your imagery so much. I feel like your imagery is activation, especially when you're traveling, you're out in nature with your horse.
Mhm.
Like definitely follow Eia. It's like a healing on its own just to, consume your content. So feel free to fill in the story. I know I may not be doing it justice here, but you've got some really like beautiful work that you've brought forward. So tell me
Yeah.
about it.
Y- Yeah, cause so I kind of led a double life too. Like I was a physical therapist, hiding my work under my license because I could touch bodies all the time.
Mhm.
I didn't have to tell them
Yeah.
anything else. So it was great because I was able to practice this piece of me with people's bodies, and it
Hmm.
gave incredible results more than what physical therapy was. And over time, I think a big part of me wanted to be more open and talk about myself and share in this more way and not hide anymore, because I think I've been in hiding for so long. And I think this wisdom has been hiding in my body for so long, and I've been tapping into it since I was born. And it's also in my ancestors. It's part of who we were. And as someone who has been so deeply ashamed, I think there was a piece, I think before 2019, where I was like called by spirit, it's time to break free for myself, to free
Mm.
myself, but also for my ancestors, because we need to share. There's a magic here that needs to be shared and people can benefit from it. So I closed my physical therapy practice in New York City pre-pandemic. And I at the same time had a divorce, and I moved to my country home, and I started opening retreats and doing the mystery school, and felt so awkward talking about multidimensional healing as a forefront of my work
Yeah.
publicly. Yeah, not just as, okay, I'm a physical therapist, and this is really the reason why you guys have profound results is because of this, you know and I think it had definitely growing pains, as well as I started like shaking things up for me and telling people, and they're like, okay, so this is it. And so, but I think the gift that given it to me, it gave me so much more playground to be myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we all, as women, we've had that ways of hiding and being and shutting ourselves down in whatever form, and we've all have some form of repression
Hmm.
somehow.
Absolutely.
And I think this was just my way of like liberating myself and liberating my ancestors, and also giving myself what I really need and what I would love to do, which is working with the body in a profound way and not hiding, and like speaking about it, and
Mhm.
seeing the realms of existence that live in the body, seeing how like things are blocked and where they're located, and not having to like figure out how to explain it, and really just saying it and as easily as it is. And so that the retreats and working with the horses and bringing horses in part of my retreats has been like my most fulfilling. It's been like I've been so incredibly, I don't know, wildly ecstatic with this journey of really saying yes to myself and owning myself, and not hiding behind a license or behind my own fear, but really stepping into this gift that is who I am.
Mhm.
And understanding all the rejection, understanding all the pain, but these are all like parts of the pieces that I needed to bring the strength back home to myself. So it's been incredible. Like working with the body, because the thing is, like, it's not necessary to be in person to work with the body. You can work anywhere.
Mhm.
But the profound way is the profound thing that I've noticed is that I feel like the body is such a living library
Mhm.
of everything that you experience, not only in this lifetime, not only as a child, but through different dimensions or different lifetimes. So I get to play what I love to do. So the contrast of hiding for so long to like I get to really be my whole self and play and like support someone and see and share what I see and like have them transform like and have myself transform. It's like gold.
I'm so happy for you. And I think, we teach that shame is the hardwired response of shame is to hide. And so when we have to
Yes.
sort of repress our gifts, one, it creates blockages in the body, right? And that can create
Yes.
illnesses and all kinds of things, right? And it's like, even if we don't have shame about it, like, there is
Mhm.
this sort of, as we were discussing, kind of overarching taboo around it. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like it was like coming out to, I'm sure,
Mhm.
how you have like random people on Facebook that have known you since like, high school or maybe professors,
Yes.
whatever. I'm sure they thought I like lost my shit with all the crazy stuff I was posting. And yet, like, it was so
Yeah.
fulfilling. It was so fulfilling, to be able to kind of like come out with these deeply held beliefs. And then this podcast has been a big part of it because, most of our guests have been healers in some capacity.
Yeah.
And I really want to legitimize that because I think, I'm a therapy fan, but like there's definitely lots of people don't get better in therapy. There's lots of not so great therapists out there, and I think for trauma, like trauma lives in the body. And
Yes.
so for me, I had a Reiki mentor who I worked with for 15 years, and she would have these Maori healers from New Zealand come in, and they're just incredible indigenous healers, and it was so amazing there. They could just like look at your feet and tell if you were fertile or like all the things.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
felt so. I mean, I just felt so honored to learn from them, and their healings were painful. A lot of it was body work that could be painful to release the trauma or whatever. But I mean, I just feel like that has been one of the most like formative experiences I've ever had. And they would come, not so much recently, but they used to come like once a year and do retreats and teachings and things. And that was such a huge part of my own trauma healing and just like learning from
Uh-huh.
it. I don't practice that myself because I don't, have the indigenous knowledge, but I just have been so
Mhm.
touched by it. And there's so much
Mhm.
to know. And it's like, wow, they know
Mhm.
more than most MD doctors just by looking at your feet,
Yeah.
getting hands on your
Exactly. And I think that's what we and that's why like one of the push that I had was like there is wisdom here that our ancestor knew that was passed on and passed on and
body.
passed on, and how beautiful it is to honor how that was even brought upon in their in for me in our line, and it's just it's wisdom that's breathe into the earth. That's really that's what happened, and the access is because the mind is open, the body is open, and they've been able to tap into this way. So that's what I do the same thing in a very different way of being able to access that and look through the body and see what happens. But it has
Mhm.
also happened throughout the entire part of
Mhm.
as a Filipino what we do. And it's still it's still like even if I do this a lot, not a lot of people understand it because it's so not out in the open, but
Mhm.
it also works. It also works, and
And that's
it's powerful.
Yeah, and that's where I would get people where they were like, "I've tried the medicine, I've tried this, I've tried that." Like, I've literally tried everything, and I'm like, "Well, how about a healing session?" They're like, "Well," and I'm like, "Well, you tried everything. Like, there's no side effects except for the cost."
No side effects. No side effects. There's nothing really to lose. Nothing really to lose. Yeah,
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 but
yeah,
one tip I will say for like picking a healer is just get a recommendation. It's just like anything, like
yeah.
if you're a newbie and you don't know where to go, like see if you can find someone who's like more versed in that and get a recommendation because that's just gonna ensure that you'll have a
I
better.
totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree. And I also totally I think it's important to feel that you can trust and
Yeah.
feel safe with someone you're working with, because I think that's like such an important thing to feel safe that someone's going to go work in your body in a very deep way. So you want to really feel that you can also you feel that there's some resonance energetically with
Yeah.
that person that you're working with, because that's also important. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I think healing is a little bit like coaching, like it's an unregulated industry, and I think there's some really good things about that because like I think regulation slows down innovation, so I
Puts
think
them in
like
the box. Well, kind of.
Yeah, so I think there can be some great things about unregulated. I definitely feel drawn to
Yes.
that in certain ways, and, the reason why regulation is there is theoretically to protect the people, so I think it's just one of those things if you could, have someone try to guide you into, like, who that's why I often recommend, people go to healers that, like, I've vetted and, like, are, know
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I really wish, there wasn't the taboo, and I do feel like, the world is kind of a bit in a healing crisis after, the things we've been through for the past few years, and I think,
Yes.
not only mental health-wise, but physically, I think, I just really feel like, those of us that have been getting the call, particularly I know you and I kind of sort of are on a similar timeline with, like,
Yes.
online, I think the world's gonna need clearly needs healing. So I think we're
Hmm.
gonna be in a high demand for sure, especially as
Right,
we get
right, right.
older and age.
Yes.
So hopefully
Yeah.
that'll open people's minds a little bit more too. But I think that sort of like we have to be the outspoken ones and even take some of
I know. That's so
whatever
true.
whatever
That's so
scrutiny or
true.
whatever it is. Yeah, and I think I really, admire that you are able to kinda just, like, fully step into that life. I'm still in that double life sort of moment, but,
Mhm.
uh, I think it's just great to see that that was the calling, and then you are met with, like, "Yes, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm so much more of
Mhm.
a full human,"
Mhm.
like, out
Mhm.
of the healer closet, so to speak.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, thank you for saying that. I also think that just to respond to that, I think we all like because we're also in this place where we have to rush things, and I
Mhm.
think my guides would always say this: there's no race, just your own divine pace. So I
Yeah.
think
I love
I think it's
that. What a great affirmation.
right. There's no race, just your own divine pace. Because I think
Mm.
it's just there's no right or wrong as to
Mhm.
wherever we are. To me, it just really felt like unequivocally like a big push of like now it's time and I had to do it this way. So, and this is the way that just like supported me in my growth and where I am. And I feel like we have so much stigma on how we need to be or where we need to be in a certain way. And I think when we just trust our own intuition and our own guidance to where we're being led, that's always going to bring us, it may be difficult and challenging in the beginning, but it's going to live us to much more of a fuller life. And I feel like in my own journey of this, it showed me just that I can be whole unto myself, that I can actually um, accept this part of me, that it was really important for me to do that in that way so that I didn't have to like carry another bag underneath
Yeah.
underneath my wings.
I know, sometimes I feel like energetically gotta, like, shake those wings off, because stuff can still accumulate.
You are though. This
Get
the thing
off.
you're doing. The thing that I love about you, and since I've met you, you've just been like this spokesperson for everybody and sharing everybody's gift as you are sharing yourself. And I think we need people like you who have such a desire to share this work, our work, to others, because we
Mhm.
need. I admire you so much for doing that
Yeah.
because I've always wanted to do something like that, and
Yeah.
we talked about this literally before we got in here. But like, I don't have like it's like all this kind of like how do I do this and like kind of like slow, not sure when to. But you're like, I'm doing this, and like so in many ways, it's just incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. I received that, and that's very beautiful. Yeah. I it's funny, this started in 2020, and so it was like, lots of people got on YouTube or, started a podcast during that time for obvious reasons, and, I took a bit of a hiatus over, like, a tough year about a year ago, and, but then came back, and it's just been I mean, selfishly, like, it's just like, I get to pick people's brains in front of people, and so, like, and talk
Mhm.
with some of the people women, women and goddesses that I admire the most, so like
Mhm.
it's great. I mean, it's very satisfying. Like, I think some of the other stuff that goes with coaching, like the selling and that stuff has been not as rewarding. And I think
I
some of
hear you on that. I think we all healers have that kind of like a little
yeah,
bit of a block there somehow.
yeah.
I totally
Well,
have
I think
that.
charging lots of money for services, like, I mean, I think we want to create that as a new healer paradigm, but I think it
Yes, absolutely.
traditionally has not been the case. We were just the wise women of the village, and so we were taking
Mhm.
care of rather than exchanging money. But
Yes.
yeah, I'm so glad that I stuck with it, and I do really hope that my mentor was saying, she was like, people like people in like psychology classes in the future are gonna be like studying you, and I'm like, really? I'm like, I feel like I'm like, gone the other way. And she's like, no, it's gonna, it's the integration. And I think it's just like we need science to catch up a little bit to
Mhm.
be able to, hopefully one day be able to
Yes, yes, yes.
share the feminine and the unseen and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, of late, actually, spirit, I did this like quantum healing session a while back, and I got this message from my higher self that was like, don't, um, we're kind of like blocking you a bit on the coaching front because actually we want you to write this book. Like, just don't even worry about the coaching
Wow.
for a minute. This book needs to come first. And I was like, so then like a year later, it takes a little while to, at least for me to process.
Right.
I actually started writing the book, and it was so interesting to me that
That's so
um,
beautiful.
I went to this writers conference and I pitched to an agent and I had people interested. I think it's like a pretty good premise. It's a little bit about the coaching industry and like a retreat, a little what they call auto fiction, which is sort of like your own experience but fictionalized. Um,
Uh-huh.
and I've gotten like it was so easy, and I'm just like, oh, universe, like when it's meant to be, it is so
Oh, it
easy.
is
It doesn't
meant to be. Yeah, 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 yeah.
mean that it's like not meant to be in the future or something like that, but yeah, this book has been very, it's like, I feel kind of like it's parallel to what you were talking about with your healing um retreat center and business. Is just that like, I've gotten the message that like writing really is the primary and that everything else is,
Yeah.
of it, but like secondary or whatever. And
Yeah.
so much transformation has happened as I started to allow this book to come through. And I've had like
Yes,
a thought
exactly.
for years and years, and now it's like really flowing, and it's just so fun.
Uh-huh. No, that's
So
exactly like when you follow just like the deep wise wisdom, it's just, I mean, it may just be kind of challenging in the beginning, but like you're going to be rewarded with so much of just that, the flow that comes through, and just everything else that making it easy and like you feel so alive. I think, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I love about also when I do the healing. It's just like from being so stuck or being feeling so just stagnant, for instance, someone feeling or some chronic issue, you get to experience what it means to actually have life back in your body, or to have less pain, to
mhm.
have to come alive a little bit more, to like to have things kind of like I don't know, make sense in the body. And it's why, yeah, yeah, yes.
Yeah, and I totally like I've done some medical intuition workshops, and I never really thought I was intuitive in that way. Just because like in therapy people tell you, so I didn't have to like, I'm a little bit more like auditory or clairsentient than visual.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really didn't realize until I took this medical intuition, and then we were doing like readings based on like their initials and stuff, and I had it like 100%. And then I was like, oh
Yes,
my God. I'm like, oh, no wonder like therapy is so intense for me because I'm like really
yes,
in
yes.
ancestral waters, even if I'm not like seeing it, like I'm getting messages, I'm getting the downloads and all that sort of stuff. And so that was very eye opening to have that experience. And I think, yeah, do you feel like, particularly like since 2012 or 2020, or like, kind of in these like really huge moments of change that we've all been experiencing, like, has your intuition just blown up? Like, I feel like I'm a totally different person than even just a few years ago.
Oh my God. I have been so psychic since I was a child, so I'm already like, I've always felt so overwhelmed with the access I have. But when I decided to really open myself up to my gifts and say yes to it, because I was so contracted and so ashamed of it. And I decided to move from New York City, which was very busy, to being in my country home,
Mm,
being with nature. That like put me in deep alignment, and like my vision, my ability to be able to see and here, you know, my psychic abilities just like,
Yeah.
and it's because I felt safe to explore parts of me in nature and not have to contract in a place where there's so much noise, and also have to contract or shape shift to
Mm-hmm.
not share myself to my patients. Here I get to like be who I am. I get to be surrounded in nature. I get to play the field that I know really best. So like everything just opened up, and I just like, all right, this is it. Yeah, so it's been, yeah, it definitely has, you know, definitely
Yeah.
has given me the access, but also I've kind of accepted it already. You know, I'm kind of in that place where this is just who I am, and I'm totally okay with it, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
That must have been so intense in your previous life where to be in the city and to seeing that many clients back to back to back, like, oh my gosh, I can only imagine what
Yes.
it's like. And
Yeah.
I had a lot, if people land on my couch for either coaching or therapy, like they are, empaths and healers themselves, whether they think they are or not, like
Hmm.
if they come to me, you know, I can pretty much guess that. And I feel like so much, and I've gotten confirmation on this, it's just like, that so much of mental health I think is just like people that don't know how to shield, they don't understand their gifts, and I think that's where
Yes,
we're
absolutely. Absolutely.
for sure.
I honestly believe that we all have psychic abilities. We all are tapped
Absolutely.
in.
Yeah.
And it's just, and we all develop in certain ways, and we all have different ways of accessing. But the more we have pain and trauma in our body, and the more we don't address it, and also the more we just hide and not allow this to flow through us, we get sick because we think we're crazy, or we think or we don't know how to navigate it. We have not been taught really to navigate. It's been, going back to what we said in the beginning, is like it's so taboo. We are so afraid of it. We don't know how to be with it or to like connect with it in a way. It was just not, we're not designed to understand it. So yes, I totally agree with that, and I have seen that many times. And it's like really finding the right person to really support you, because sometimes at some point, what I've seen in people, like also in Western medicine, is like people are going to find that it's just they have tried every single thing out there, and it's not working in terms
Right.
of Western medicine. And then they have to now be open, what else is there. And so this is where they cross the
Mm-hmm.
bridge and say, perhaps I can venture this unknown realm and see what it can do for me, and how I can open up to that and free myself into that space.
Yeah, I like how they say sometimes in spiritual circles, like incurable is like curable from the inside, and I think that
Yeah.
that's really hopeful, especially for people who have faced how the trauma of having an incurable something disease or
Yeah.
whatever. That whole disease thing, I think, is right on too. I know that's part of sort of my ancestral lineage is that my mom's mother was institutionalized when she was a teenager, and so that was definitely obviously a trauma for her. But I think about like if she had been born in the modern times, maybe it was something like bipolar or something like that. But it was also like clearly she was an incredible spiritual, like super into astrology. That's where I get my astrology obsession. And I just can like imagine her, feel her, sitting next to me as I'm listening to my astrology podcast and different things. And my mom will always be like, oh my God, she's like, would be so proud of you, And I think
Yeah, of
like
course.
with that ancestral piece of just like, I do
Because you're
feel like,
honoring her and you're honoring
yeah,
you
that's
in such
true.
a beautiful way.
Yeah, and it's interesting that I went the psychology route because, I do think that that's maybe why have less visual. It's just because there was fear around that, seeing
Yes.
things is not okay, right? And
Yes.
I know I did as a kid, and I know like my daughter has when she was younger, and I think we just
Hmm.
don't get that like validated, and so people, and then people get freaked, and as a kid you just learn like, oh, okay, don't talk about those things, right?
Hmm.
But man,
Hmm.
I know I'm sure you can see it with your son, but like, man, the kids coming through or woman
The kids coming through are like,
gives me
woo!
hope for the future, yeah, especially when
Yes.
they have
And we need them, and we also need to be able to like have a broader sense of really letting them shine and be who they are, without our wounds projected on them, or the society projecting their own fear on their magic and their gift and their access. Yeah, yeah, we need that back. We need them to be fully connected, fully alive, accepted for who they are, instead of like our, that's why we need to keep doing our own inner work to heal ourselves, so that we don't do our pass on this hurts to our
Mhm.
children, and then we can create a different world, I don't know, in their eyes, through their eyes, that they can
Mhm.
shift the paradigm that's happening in the planet. Because as we
Mhm.
do our own healing internally, our children will be able to be in a better light with the
Mhm.
way they can navigate the world, because we don't really know what's going to happen. It's just like
Mhm.
I mean, we're shifting so beautifully, but you
Yeah.
know
Well, yeah, and I think, with interdimensional, like, it's, when I was doing Reiki and there's, like, the interdimensional symbols that you can heal forwards and backwards, like, I think that's so hopeful, and, like, with the linear sense, it's so, like, fatalistic, you know?
no,
So you're
it's
healing your
such a
ancestors, you're healing future generations, you're healing yourself, it just, like, is in all directions, like, cross space
yes.
and time.
Yes, absolutely. Across space and time. Yes. All generations. I love that. Yes, it's true.
No, and I think that's the power of interdimensional, and, like, I think it's also, like, just from the psychology perspective, I've definitely seen where it does seem to make sense, like, someone might have a phobia or something, and then, like, come to find out they do, like, a past life healing or something like that, and they were in some kind of situation that sort of amplified that, or, it's really cool. There's a lot of, wish I remember the specifics. I feel like there's a professor in Virginia. I wish I knew the name. I'll have to Google it or something. But um, they're doing past life research because these kids coming through are remembering their past lives, and then because of the internet, they're able to document it and like
Yes.
search out those experiences and kind of confirm them after the fact. And so I think those kind of things are really exciting to see kind of coming forward. And I feel like it was interesting. We've been working a bit with a holistic treatment center and working with the teens and stuff. They all have their crystals, and like, I live in the South, like I'm in a conservative area, and so it's so cool to see the teens like
It's
they
so
just
it's so good that it's so good that there is much more of a, and I'm hoping for much more of an okayness and an acceptance that this is kind of like it here now, and that we can just let let that be a part of their lives, so that we can step back and see how this can change us. And it's but it's so beautiful though, and there's just so much magic and like even healing to see this now versus what it was before. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and like these things are not going to be like televised mainstream, like it's
yeah.
on these kind of platforms where you're going to
Yes.
hear how the revolution is really happening, right? It's not
Right, right,
necessarily
right, 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 right.
the positive media hasn't quite caught on yet, but I think it will in
Yes,
the future.
yes,
And, I think it's
yes.
the innovators to be, kind of bringing this out to the people, so I'm
Right,
excited.
right, exactly.
Well, I feel like I could just talk to you for hours. I'm sure there's so much more we could say. I'd love to have you back on. Like, it's always such a rich conversation. Just love being in your healing vibes, and just want to promote like your workshops and stuff because gosh, like your land is so beautiful. I've done like quite a bit of equine therapy, and horses are I mean, they're their
Yes,
own shamans, and like, they are such
absolutely.
like, the way they can read emotions, and like, the healing that I've seen come out in equine therapy has been like unparalleled. So I can only
Hmm.
imagine like the multidimensional version of that
Yeah,
would be even better. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just feel like it's such a vibe, and so definitely want to send people your way for the healing and the retreats. So tell us all the things.
Yeah,
Where can
yeah,
we find
yeah. I can just talk with you for a longer time too. It's always been fun. Yes, you're so right. Like, and I feel so blessed that I get to have this. I live in this land that I'm on top of the hill, so I see the sunset every single day.
you?
And I feel like I've come to a place where, like, I call this place Sacred Earth Sanctuary, because it is a sanctuary for myself and for my animals, for people to come home to themselves and really like dive into the healing, the deep soul healing that can happen in the body when we like really like heal the pain body in a very profound way that opens them up to their magic. But also the beauty about um the horses and us combined is just that they can really bring you back to presence, and they mirror to you what you're really experiencing, and say they provide just profound mirroring and just intuitive feedback to you, and they do their own work. They literally, as you say, their own medicine in itself. They bring you back to the heart. And the beauty that what I have been loving about bringing people here is that they get to bring a piece of themselves that may have been lost back home to their bodies. They get to really remember and access a piece of themselves that they have been ashamed or forgotten or they didn't want to look at. And we integrate that in the body, right? They get to experience the profoundness of the work that happens in the land, because I have so many different modalities, not just the multidimensional healing. I do some other medicine work here, but what was profound is that they get to feel the internal landscape shift in their bodies, but they also like get to embody a piece of themselves that they have. So it's like all these fragmented pieces that come back whole within them, and they see it's like a piece of the total part of themselves that comes alive, and they get to see life in a very profound way. So that brings me so much joy, because that's kind of like, I think, my journey, where I have been forgetting, ashamed of parts of myself, and I've kind of slowly brought all these pieces back at home, and I've integrated being with nature, being with the horses as part of the alchemy process of my work, and the way I work with the pain body, because I love that piece. It's kind of art for me. So yeah, I mean, it's just been, I'm whoever feels called to just like jump in the wagon here. I'm more than happy to like connect with them. It's been a beautiful journey of reclamation, and I think empowerment and like wholeness. I feel the journey, the coming back to the heart and the meat of the body, like the healing of the pain body. Yeah. So it's been great.
I know, and I think so many people just have their heart shut down. And I know even when I go to a healing session, they're like, "Okay, you got to keep your heart open, even if it's painful."
Yes.
Know? I
Yes.
totally feel that, and like, what a service to to the land and the world and the people that you work with, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
excited that you're supported in doing that work. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we'll definitely have you back on if you would like to. And thanks everybody so much for watching, and we will see you next time.